How does chronic stress affect life expectancy? We all experience stress, but most of us think that it only affects us in the short term. Sure, when we feel stressed, we might not sleep very well that night, or we might be more irritable than normal, or even overeat or undereat because of it. But aside from the immediate effects of stress, did you know that chronic stress can actually shorten your lifespan? How does this happen? What can you do to avoid it? Let's find out. A 2007 study, published in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior, found that people who had recently experienced a major life event like the death of a spouse or a divorce had a 30% higher risk of dying within a year than those without such stressors. One of the most effective ways to deal with stress is through exercise. There are many theories about what causes chronic stress, but it appears to be complex and varies from person to person. Believe it or not, your personality can play a big role in how you experience stress. It's linked to a host of health problems, including heart disease, high blood pressure, muscle tension, digestive problems, sleep disorders, depression, and cancer. Fortunately, there are things you can do to lower your stress levels. Exercise, yoga, meditation, cognitive behavioral therapy, and changing your environment are all effective methods for dealing with chronic stress. In addition, your personality can play a big role in how you experience stress. Being more extroverted and agreeable tends to result in better stress management. So if you notice that you are feeling chronically stressed, it might be time to make some changes. Talk to your boss about your stressful job, visit a therapist to learn coping mechanisms, or reach out to your friends and family for support. All of these things can help you live a longer, happier life. According to a 2017 study published in Frontiers in Psychology, there is a personality trait called neuroticism. Find out what it is and other healthy habits you can incorporate into your routine to extend your lifespan by watching this video. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on future videos. Neuroticism refers to the tendency to experience negative emotions such as anger, anxiety, self-consciousness, and depression. People who score high in neuroticism tend to respond to experiences with more negative emotions than others. And unfortunately, this can lead to maladaptive stress responses, meaning that when you experience stress, your body reacts in a way that is harmful to your health. Basically, it makes the fight or flight response kick in, which, as we discussed earlier, is not good for your health when it's activated constantly. On the other hand, people who score low in neuroticism tend to respond to experiences with fewer negative emotions. This means that they are able to cope with stress more effectively. But neuroticism is not the only personality trait that affects the way you react to stress. Another trait is extroversion. Those who score high in extroversion tend to be more outgoing and sociable. Research suggests that people who are more extroverted are better able to cope with stress because they are able to lean on their social networks for support. In contrast, those who score low in extroversion tend to be more introverted and may prefer to deal with stress on their own, which can be detrimental to their mental health. Finally, there is the personality trait of agreeableness. According to a 2019 study published in the Journal of Research and Personality, agreeableness is associated with more positive emotions, which leads to adaptive stress responses. That is, people who are more agreeable tend to experience less negative emotions when faced with stress, which allows them to cope with it more effectively. For example, in a study done in 2017, researchers surveyed preschool teachers about their stress levels. At the same time, they collected DNA samples from participants to see if there were any genetic links to chronic stress. They found that there were 3 genetic variants associated with the perception of effort in daily tasks: fatigue, negative emotions, and stress. These 3 traits combine to influence stress levels. Researchers concluded that the interplay between genes and the environment contribute to chronic stress. So while you might not be able to change your genes, you can change your environment. If you are feeling chronically stressed, it might be time to consider if there are things in your environment that you can change to make things less stressful. Is it your job? Maybe it is time for a change of scenery? Or maybe it is time to talk to your boss about your concerns. If it's your relationship causing you stress, perhaps couples therapy could be helpful. Or if it's your parents, maybe setting some boundaries would be better for your mental health. Sometimes changing your environment isn't possible. So in that case, you might want to consider changing the way you think. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, is a type of psychotherapy that helps you identify and change negative thought patterns that contribute to stress. By learning how to challenge negative thoughts and reframe them in a more positive light, you can effectively reduce your stress levels. Exercise releases endorphins, which have mood-boosting effects. In addition, physical activity helps improve sleep quality, which is often disrupted by stress. In fact, according to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, exercise can be just as effective as medication in treating mild to moderate depression. Other effective methods include yoga and meditation. Yoga combines physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation to promote relaxation and reduce stress. Meditation, on the other hand, involves training the mind to focus on the present moment without judgment. Both practices have been shown to be effective in reducing stress and improving mental health. Another study conducted by the American Institute of Stress found that individuals who had the highest levels of perceived stress were twice as likely to die during the 8-year study than those with low stress levels, according to Dr. Joel D. Sampson. An evolutionary biologist and professor at the University of Michigan, chronic stress actually causes telomere shortening, which leads to all sorts of health problems. Telomeres are found at the end of chromosomes, and they protect them from being damaged. Think of them as the plastic tips at the end of a shoelace. They keep the laces from fraying. Chromosomes contain all of our genetic information, and they control how our cells function. So if they become damaged, it can lead to all sorts of health problems, including cancer. As telomeres get shorter, the risk of developing these diseases increase. Since chronic stress causes telomeres to become shorter, it increases the risk of dying from any one of those diseases. A 2014 study found that perceived stress was associated with shorter telomeres. Even after controlling for age, race, education level, and lifestyle factors. So it seems that chronic stress has a significant effect on life expectancy. But is there anything we can do about it? First, what is chronic stress? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. When you experience a stressor, your body will automatically go into survival mode. Your heart rate and blood pressure increase, your breathing becomes faster and deeper, and your muscles tense up. All of these are designed to help you fight or run away from whatever is stressing you. But the problem arises when you are in a state of chronic stress. With the fight or flight response constantly turned on, your body never gets a chance to rest. So the increased heart rate, the higher blood pressure, etc., that should have only lasted for as long as the stressor lasted, continues to persist, which means that it starts to take a toll on the body. Over time, chronic stress raises the levels of cortisol and adrenaline in the body. Both of these hormones are designed to be temporary, but high levels of them over a long period of time leads to health issues. Cortisol slows down the production of other hormones and weakens the immune system. Meanwhile, high levels of adrenaline increases the risk of heart disease and high blood pressure. In addition to this, the constant tension and anxiety associated with chronic stress can lead to muscle tension and pain. And sleep disorders, digestive problems, memory loss, and depression have also been linked to chronic stress. Quite a laundry list of negative side effects from something that we may not even be consciously aware of anymore. It's prolonged stress. While acute stress can be beneficial for us at times, helping us perform better and be more focused. For example, chronic stress can be deadly. Chronic stress refers to stress that lasts for a long time. It's the stress that comes from a general dissatisfaction with one's life. This could stem from many sources. For example, having an unhealthy relationship with your partner or family members, struggling financially, being stuck in a dead-end job, or maybe it's the stress of taking care of children or elderly parents. Sometimes there is no identifiable source, and it just seems to come from the general dissatisfaction with life itself. The important thing to note here is that it's not the stressor itself, but rather our reaction to the stressor that causes the damage. But how does chronic stress affect the body? Well, let's start with what happens during acute stress. So how does chronic stress affect life expectancy? Well, there are things you can do to lower your stress levels. Now, while there are proven ways to reduce stress, researchers are still working hard to determine exactly how stress works and what causes it. Now, let's talk about something that you can't change: your personality. In conclusion, chronic stress can have a major impact on your life expectancy. Speaking of things that can help you live a longer life, Did you know that there is a superfood that can significantly increase your chances of living longer?